This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo.
Hello and welcome to the latest Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo. It's Monday afternoon and I'm Joe Rimmer to bring you all the reaction to a 1 point at Old Trafford. It wasn't the 10-0 Liverpool win that everyone seemed to predict on at the weekend. Liverpool drew 1-1 with Manchester United, but I think we're all fairly happy. I'm joined by three fine gentlemen today. We're sat in, as Theo pointed out, in order of height. So on the far left here is Diddy Dan Kay. How are you, Dan?
I'm not having it that Theo's taller than me.
I am.
Lads, we'll sort this out some other time.
We'll sort this out in the car park later, yeah.
You're ruining my excellent opening for you.
Sorry,
Diddy
Joe,
Dan
I'm
Kay.
very well, thank you. How are you, mate?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good. Next to him is teeny tiny Theo Squires.
You've been working on that one, have you?
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've been on this. Lots happened. But
Yeah.
some things don't change, like Liverpool being top.
There you go. That's very good. That's very good. And on my right, and the next one along, but on my right is the incredibly tall Ian Doyle.
Well, there's no Paul Ghost here today, so I am the tallest member of the sports desk at the moment. Hello.
You're the tallest member of this podcast.
Well, there is
desk.
that, yeah.
How are you, Ian?
I'm all right.
Enjoy the game?
It was all right, wasn't it?
We'll stay with you.
Okay, you can if you want.
Because you were there in Old
Yeah.
Trafford. Ian Doyle, simple question. Point gained or two dropped?
Always good draw to have at Manchester United. Never such thing as a bad point at Old Trafford. Liverpool's record, though, is terrible. I think, the previous 18 visits, they had only won 2 and lost 13 of them. So to get a point, especially from the situation where they were 1-0 down with 5 minutes to go, a goal that, let's be perfectly honest, shouldn't have been allowed from Manchester United. So as poor as Liverpool played in the first half, they did a lot better in the second half. You know, I'm sure we'll touch on it. Jurgen Klopp made some tactical changes, made some substitutions, changed the formation, and it all worked. United ran out of legs after about 55 minutes, an hour. Liverpool dominated the last 20 minutes. And I know you can't really say this because everybody knows how long the game lasts, but if it went on for another 5 minutes, I would have thought Liverpool might have scored again. So I think United were quite happy for the final whistle. I know they come across as saying they were disappointed, but I think in the cold light of day, United would be happy to in some ways, get away with a 1-1 draw, because if that's the best that they've played all season, and believe me, speaking to some of the people who watch them regularly in the press box, because I said, that wasn't very good, was it? And they were like, well, you should come here for all the other games. They're absolutely atrocious. So they were saying it was one of their best, probably their best performance of the season. Certainly some of the individuals like Rashford, they said that was the best he's played. Liverpool didn't play particularly well, went to United, got a point, could have had more top of the table, as Theo suggested, still unbeaten.
I'll go all the way down the other end of the table, so if I squint, I just might be able to see Dan Kay. Dan, you were there as well at Old Trafford.
I was, anyway.
You go along with what Doyley's saying?
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with any of that, really. The winning run of 17, it ended up, wasn't it? 17 consecutive wins was always going to come to an end at some point. But I think if it had come to an end at Old Trafford, to a defeat like that, after a performance like that, to an opposition like that, I think it could potentially have been quite damaging for Liverpool psychologically. Time will tell, of course, but there was a real sense, I wouldn't say jubilation, it's a draw. We all went there wanting to win, hoping to win, kind of expecting to win really as well. But as the game panned out, I think a draw was more than an acceptable outcome. And as Doyle said, if the goal had come a little bit earlier, you just felt that United was starting to run out of legs a little bit. As well as they played and as off the pace as Liverpool were for the majority of the match, it was clear to me that United had put such intensity in it. And even though we were lousy for the lion's share of it, the one little speck of hope I had was that just keep it at 1-0, stay in this game, because United have put so much into it, not just physically but mentally. You know what I mean? They were massively up for it. They knew how much it meant to them, to their supporters, to them as a club, as an opportunity of them to kind of give their season some credibility. And Liverpool, I think, deserve a lot of credit for not... I've already watched most of it back, and just before half-time, Gary Neville said something. He compared it to that game 15 years ago when Arsenal had gone 49 games unbeaten, and they lost at Old Trafford. Rooney died for that penalty and then finished it off towards the end. But he did. He bought it. Sol Campbell stupidly left the leg out, but he bought it. But the point is, it did have that feel. You know what I mean? The United crowd clearly sensed there was a big scalp here for them, and I did lose a bit of heart with about 20 minutes to go, and I thought, a second goal for United's coming here. But Liverpool, as we now know, through ample evidence, do not give up, do not throw the towel in. And they kept going, and it was a great moment when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there was Adam Lallana in glorious isolation at the back post right in front of us to touch it in and spark some great scenes in the away end.
Theo, there are draws that that feel like wins. I thought you made a really good point this morning when I walked in. You said it felt like Chelsea last year and felt like quite an important point, didn't it?
Yeah, it's a strange one because you think last year there was such joy when Liverpool got that draw at Chelsea, when there was like 3 teams that were unbeaten for so long.
Yeah.
But in this one, it's almost if Liverpool had drawn 2 games ago, or if they'd drawn against Leicester, there probably wouldn't be that negativity about it. It's because they had so many wins in a row that it feels a bit more of a blow. But Liverpool were never going to go every game winning every game.
No.
It's quite good that you can play badly and get a draw. And the fact that it's United, it's probably away the one game that you're happy to set that point in. Because say you go to Man City, you go to the Etihad and you drop points, you're giving them a point.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go to United, they're not going to be up there challenging for titles at the end of the season.
They're up to 12th now.
Oh, dizzying heights. It's 2 points above the relegation zone.
Nosebleeds.
Yeah.
So they're not going to be challenging you for the title, but at the same time, you're not going to get that negativity that you would for, we've lost to those fierce rivals there.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, we can't avoid talking about it, so let's just get straight into it. VAR, Doyle. Perhaps it wasn't a clear and obvious error, but it was a clear and obvious foul on Divock Origi, wasn't it, in the build-up to Man United's goal?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was quite
Please
clearly a
elaborate.
foul. Well, I can tell you from the press box is that when we saw the replay, we all just thought what Jurgen Klopp said to his staff, because they were all kicking off when it happened, and he says, I've just seen the replay, calm down, this is going to be overturned. We all saw it and went, this is quite clearly not going to be allowed. And then when they then showed the replay and they took it through to the actual finish, we were like, hang on a minute, he's going to give this. And then they gave it. So we were all very surprised by it. It's quite clearly a foul. I think you'd have to be very Mancunian to suggest otherwise, or blind, preferably both. I know Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said afterwards, he said, it's not basketball. He says, well, I'm pretty sure if that was in the penalty area and it was a Man United player who was getting tackled, it would be a penalty. I think the problem is what Jurgen Klopp said afterwards, it's not so much to do with VAR, the people making the decision, the VAR people, it's to do with the process of it. Because Martin Atkinson didn't give the free kick, it goes to VAR, and VAR go, well, this is I'm not sure whether this is a foul or not. We'll just go with what the referee said. But the referee didn't go back and have a check because he thought, well, I'll go with what VAR said. So I think it's opened this debate about, I think is it right saying that no referee's gone to consult the touchline monitor at any point in the Premier League this season?
They're not going to do that.
Then what's the point of having it then?
Well, exactly. Take it away. If you're not going to use it, take it away.
They can do it though, can't they?
Yeah, because they can do it.
Basically, they've given this guidance that from the start of the season, and all they've said it on plenty of live matches, referees will not be asked to go and look at the replay again.
And I think the other thing is that Martin Atkinson is one of the most senior referees in English football, whether you like him or not. That's irrelevant. So whoever it was, I'm not entirely sure. Was it one of the younger referees?
He did say it was a young, and he's only done like 20 odd games.
And is he going to overrule and say, "Come on, this is a foul. You've got this one wrong here"? Especially from some of the stories I've heard about Martin Atkinson, he's quite, likes himself, shall we say? But then there's nothing to stop. He could have just gone over and had a check. He could have just gone over and had a look. And would he have been big enough to admit, actually, I got that one wrong. It's not a goal. But then you look at the actual way that the game went. Just talking generally about the refereeing, I think Liverpool, Neil Jones, now goal formerly of round here, he pointed out that Liverpool had something like 2/3 of the possession, yet Man United had more than double the amount of free kicks. Now that doesn't tally with being in possession and somehow getting that many fouls. And it's not as if Liverpool were roughing up United. If anything, it was the other way around, because if you saw some of the stuff that was written this morning, they were saying, this is a new muscular Manchester United. You've got Rashford knocking over Van Dijk, you've got Pereira snapped at the heels of Fabinho and just about everybody else who was on the pitch. So you do wonder, how on earth did United not get more bookings, more fouls? And then then it's down to the whole thing about the referee, the old atmosphere, the occasion. And while I know that some Liverpool fans are trying to make out that Martin Atkinson's always against them, I don't think that's particularly true. I just think he had a bad game.
Well, there you go. Martin Atkinson might not always be against Liverpool, Dan, but he's not a very good referee, is he? I'm not having. We're meant to ask questions here, but I'm just going to say that I think every single time I seem to see Martin Atkinson, he did. He's a classic referee who goes with the home crowd.
Yeah. Apart from, I only mentioned this because it was mentioned briefly around the sports desk last week. Pretty sure it was him that sent off Rodwell very early in the derby about 8 years ago, which was, even as a Liverpool fan who was there on the day, it was a shocking decision. It did just feel like the classic Homer's performance yesterday, and I think that what's really behind that kind of sense of frustration and anger, really, that the foul on Origi wasn't given. I mean, you could argue that it is. it's a foul. He's gone over a bit. He's maybe slightly made a little bit of a meal of it. In old worldly football, 30, 40 years ago, in the kind of football we like to play on Wednesday nights or whatever, it's not really a foul. Do you know what
Theo
I mean?
likes to play.
Well, it's definitely a foul when Theo plays. But in the 2019 world of the Premier League, it absolutely is a foul, and particularly the point is. This was about 35 minutes in, was it? But about 10 minutes before half time. So a third of the way through the game. It was exactly, I haven't counted them up, but it was exactly the kind of challenge that he'd been penalising Liverpool players for in that first half hour. If he'd been letting loads go before that, you'd say, well, I think it's a foul, but at least he's been consistent. But when he's whistled for us for, I would estimate maybe half a dozen tackles like that already, and then he lets that one go, you're entitled to feel hard done to.
I think it wasn't exactly a hostile atmosphere either, was it, from the United fans? I didn't find it, and I've obviously been going there for quite a few years.
Well, I have. I would say it was a bit more than recent years.
I didn't find it particularly hostile. I mean, it wasn't so much that.
I mean, you weren't in the away end or the environment.
Exactly. Well, I was in the kind of the I was in the environment to be able to see the whole thing, and it didn't seem particularly hostile. Certainly not towards the referee. Let's put it that way. So there was no reason for him to start being pressured into making certain decisions, because there didn't seem to work. As you just said, it's football 2019. There's hardly ever any fouls or tackles or anything. People just get on and play. So while there is physical contact, the thing is, later on in the second half, you have the incident where Daniel James goes down being winded, and they stop the play. And you're not supposed to do that unless he's got a head injury, which he quite clearly didn't. And I know Liverpool were on the attack down the right flank, and they got a bit annoyed. And then he goes down again a bit later on when he gets clattered into by Fabinho, which he really did hurt himself. And the referee waves play on, and then they play on for about 2 minutes. And I think Matip just goes, "This is a bit cruel," and just puts the ball out. And yeah. So
Henderson
it's lack of consistency, isn't it? I mean, I'm not going to go along the lines of Atkinson's a really poor referee, Joe. Because it's a game of opinions. He is not great, but he's not always terrible. I mean, he did the Liverpool United game last year. Nobody batted an eyelid. He let the. I think Solskjaer said afterwards, somebody lets the game run, which he does do, but he didn't let the game run for both teams. He seemed to let it run for United. So that's what his issue was there, and he let the game run for the goal. But then we come back to VAR, should have had. Well, I'm going to say it again: the balls to just actually go, well, hang on, come on, Martin, you've got this one wrong. I would advise you to come and have a look if you want to make the decision yourself. But they don't do that. And while nobody wants the game to be interrupted time and time again, that was a goal. So it's like it's gone in. They check all the goals. It's not like
it's got a significant impact on the match.
And they'd already had a very long kind of check of it. So how long would it have taken for him to come over and just go, another extra 30 seconds? And
he probably wouldn't have added it on at the end of the first half either.
Well, that was incredible. That's just not that game. It's all games. That's something else. I think they must be told as well. Just don't add a ridiculous amount of time on.
What I like from it is the lines you got from the managers and stuff afterwards. So you had Solskjaer saying, Roy Keane would say that's not a foul. And then Keane straight in the Sky studio going, yeah, that's a foul. This is what the hardest man we've got in Premier League history, who's had all those red cards. And we know he likes to tackle. And if he's saying that a dodgy challenge on the halfway line is a foul when we're saying it is kind of softish but enough, then that's all you need to know.
And Gary Neville.
Yeah, Gary Neville as well. And then you look at the referee statements. So Dermot Gallagher's been on Sky today and he says it's a foul, he'd have given that. But there's another statement with the referee chiefs when they're saying, it's the correct decision. They've not put any referee's name on that. They're just saying it's the association agreeing with the ref.
Cop out that, isn't it?
They said, didn't they, that it was Martin Atkinson's decision, didn't they?
Yeah, so it's VAR don't want to overrule him.
The irony, well, not irony, but the fact is that was a deliberate action that wasn't penalised. And then for Mane's handball, which was rightly disallowed, was an accidental. He didn't mean to do it, but quite rightly gets disallowed. Mike Riley gets disallowed. Freudian slip, I believe.
Let's do a Graham Poll on
that. Look, I mean, it's not nice to say as a Liverpool fan, but it's also good for this team, isn't it? That to be in a situation like that, to have decisions go against them, to have, that they'll have felt hard done by yesterday, but then to still come away and get a point and battle and win it in difficult circumstances, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like you go back to games of yesteryear where Liverpool haven't had it going their way and they crumble, or they take if you look into the Salzburg game, they take a 3-0 lead, concede it, and that's a game they draw or lose. Yeah. This Liverpool team have got something a bit more about them. They go to the final whistle, maybe it's a bit more confidence now they've won the Champions League, and they just know how to get the results when they need them. And when you think of, would you rather drop points at Old Trafford or would you rather drop them at Carrow Road? City have buckled where they've been under pressure. Liverpool at the moment aren't. And when you think every point counts, like Liverpool, 97 points last year, lost the title by a point. City have already dropped half the number of points they dropped last season. So this could be looking at as point gained at the end of the season. And it's that sort of thing where you look at it at the end of the season, this will be a performance we could say that's where the stuff are champions.
Okay, well, Adam Lallana scored the equaliser. Dan, before we come on to him, a couple of other players came on and made an impact. We'll start with Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Klopp changed his formation to a 4-2-3-1. Oxlade-Chamberlain came on, played very well. Went very close to scoring the winner.
I thought it was in.
So did I. How important can players like him, like Keita, like Lallana be going forward? Because they give Liverpool a different element, don't they, in midfield?
Well, hugely important. And to me, I think, alongside the kind of resilience that we showed in digging out a point later on, in fact, Doyle might be able to help on this. I was thinking all the way home, and I've actually looked into it a bit this morning. When was the last time we got a late equaliser there? Obviously, we've got a poor record there, but generally, if we're getting beat there, normally, if we're losing there, we normally lose. Now, the only one I can remember, and just about 35 years ago, September 84, Paul Walsh, but that was after about 75 minutes, so it wasn't like really, really late. So that's one thing I think we should be really chuffed about. The other part is the midfield, which, I'm not going to throw Henderson, Milner, Wijnaldum, Fabinho, any of these great players who brought us such pleasure and enjoyment and satisfaction over the last 18 months, and no doubt will continue to do so. But I don't think anyone would dispute that if you were looking at Liverpool's squad and team critically, the midfield would arguably be the least brilliant area.
Yeah.
And there have been times in games when they've looked a bit pedestrian and samey, and we've all been hoping that the likes of Chamberlain and Keita and others can give us a bit more verve and dynamism in that area of the pitch. And I think yesterday was a prime example of that. The manager deserves credit for making quite early changes for him. I think the first change was before the hour mark, wasn't it? Just about 57, 58,
I think it was bang on the hour, actually.
Was it?
Yeah.
It was raised eyebrows too. Taking Origi off, that seemed a strange decision at the time, but paid off.
Well, it did, but it was a kind of a complete reshuffle, really, in terms of how he adapted it. But you got to remember as well, Chamberlain and Keita, neither of whom have had an awful lot of football over recent weeks, but they both showed real kind of appetite and ingenuity, and basically helped Liverpool calm down a little bit, because that was the frustrating thing about the first hour. It wasn't like United were doing anything amazing. They were hungry, they were aggressive, they were committed, which you'd expect in this kind of game, but they weren't reinventing the wheel or anything in what they were doing football-wise. And Liverpool did let themselves get affected by the occasion for whatever reason. And a prime example would be the number of aimless balls that were played into the front men, from poor areas. Robertson and Trent are as good a fullback combination if you've got anywhere in the world, in my opinion. But they need to, if they're going to be putting balls in, it needs to be from the right part of the pitch, and it wasn't in the first hour. Once the likes of Chamberlain and particularly Keita got on, and Keita came on 82, I think.
80.
Because there's been a few stats going around that basically in 8 minutes plus stoppage time, he completed the same amount of passes as, I think, a few other players that played the 90.
Yeah.
And he just basically got Liverpool to calm down a bit, start passing the ball forwards and do the things that have made us so successful over the last 18 months. So it couldn't really have come at a more timely moment, really, this, because obviously we're launching into another very intense chunk of games that will obviously conclude on November the 9th with Manchester City's visit to Anfield. Matches every midweek, 2 games against Genk and obviously Arsenal in the League Cup. We are going to need to utilise the squad, and these lads are going to have a big part to play, and they've hopefully started this series of games in a positive vein.
Theo, the exciting part for Oxlade-Chamberlain and Keita in particular is they both add something a little bit different, don't they? Oxlade-Chamberlain likes a shot, got a couple. Had that one that whistled just wide near the end, and he had another one earlier than that. He dragged wide, so he likes a shot. And Keita, his passing's very good around the edge of the area, isn't it? Yeah,
definitely. There's that purpose there when they get on the ball. You expect them to go and make something happen, and when it's not quite happening for the fullbacks, we have seen a couple of times this season where they keep trying the crosses and they will get one assist, but there have been quite a few wasteful balls. You need these sorts of players to go and deliver. I think it's interesting with the narrative that Jurgen Klopp can't really win, can he? Because you think we've had games where there's been criticism, there's not that strength there when you take out one of the star players. It's all about the front three. It's like, well, Salah, he didn't play. The other two weren't at the best. And then there's not the squad depth. The players come on and they actually do something, but it's not, well done, Jurgen Klopp, you actually got the squad depth. Yeah. It's, you're not good enough because Salah didn't play, or Origi's not good enough to start games. There's just always one way to turn it into a criticism.
Mm-hmm. Doyle, you've written a piece on both Oxlade-Chamberlain and Keita. Whether you stand on their performances, do you think now we'll see one of those two start to push for a regular start?
Depend really. I mean, I agree with Dan. It's time to overhaul the midfield, but it has been we've been saying that for quite a few weeks now. Jurgen Klopp, he's tended not to want to change it too much. There's been the four of them, hasn't there? Really, Milner, Henderson, Wijnaldum, and Fabinho. And Fabinho's probably the one who's going to stay in. It was interesting, actually. I thought in the first half, I thought Wijnaldum was playing more like Holland. Wijnaldum. He was a bit more further forward. He was, had one very good run, which ended up with a shot that was straight at De Gea. But at least it was a shot. And then in the second half, when they switched to a 4-2-3-1, which is now the fourth game in a row, I've been banging on about this, that they've changed to that, and they have improved, whether it was against Salzburg defensively and in the other three games, Leicester, Sheffield United, and against United, better attacking-wise. Wijnaldum went and helped out Fabinho before Keita replaced him, and he kind of wasn't. He didn't have the same impact as he did in the first half. But yeah, you're right. I think Dan's right. It's time that they need to look to change some things around. I mean, he's not going to just change the whole thing and just bring in three different players. That won't be happening. I think while Lallana scored the goal, I think he's still the one out of all of them that's probably the least likely to come in and start. He'll start against Arsenal, for example, in the League Cup, but whether he's ready for a league start, I don't know, because Keita, he's definitely time. Perhaps I think if Keita had been fit at the start of the season, because he come on and played against Man City in the Community Shield and did well. Then he got that injury just before the start of the Super Cup. Then he was out. I think that's the one thing about Keita. I know you're still worried about him. Are you still worried about him?
Well, I just want to see him start.
Yeah, exactly. So it's about he's got to keep himself fit to prove that he can be trusted. Because the minute that he gets a run of games, while he doesn't get lots of injuries, he just gets them. And we've said this time and time again, gets them at the wrong time, and he tends to get quite, for want of a better phrase, public injuries, such as walking out of an open training session or limping off during the course of a game, rather than just getting injured in training when no one's looking. He got injured playing for Guinea as well, didn't he, in the Africa Cup of Nations? So that was quite a public injury as well. So he has that against him. But you saw his talents. There's a reason why Klopp spent that much money and waited a year for him. And I think you actually want him to do quite well, because he does, as you've said, he offers something different. He was taking the ball on and he was pressing Manchester United back. He was finding the holes. He was doing what Klopp said, the not obvious things, which I think was also a bit of a dig at how Liverpool had played before that. He said it was too predictable. They could see. Excuse you, Daniel.
Thank you.
Okay. He was saying that how Liverpool had played was far too predictable for United. What United did well was they did the 3-5-2, which pushed the two Liverpool fullbacks back and meant that they couldn't really do anything. When they changed to 4-2-3-1, that then meant, I know Henderson didn't have a particularly good game. He ended up on the right before being subbed. He was then pushing back United's fullback, and it gave some room for Trent. And on the other side, I think it was Mane was pushing back, and in the end, that's what made the space for Robertson to get forward and put in the cross from which Lallana scored. So I think there is scope for changes in midfield. I think there's scope for a change of formation. I think it's not going to be too long now before Klopp goes, I'm going to start with 4-2-3-1 and see what happens. Because Firmino didn't have a particularly great game. This tends to happen when he goes to Old Trafford. He doesn't seem to do much. And I think he sometimes gets lost when he's won against the three of them up there. And maybe
apart from, well, I only really noticed this lunchtime today, the goal. His dummy, yeah. To be fair, they mentioned that on Match of the Day, didn't they? They mentioned that, they mentioned it on that. To be fair, I hadn't noticed either until they'd said it on that as well. I think it was Darren Fletcher, of all people, who said it.
It was intelligent, wasn't it? He took the first defender out of it.
But that's not his game, but that's the kind of thing he can do because he's an intelligent footballer, and that's why he plays. But apart from one or two, I think he did one nutmeg, didn't he, on somebody? I can't remember who it was, second half.
Missed a decent chance first half.
He
got injured there last year, didn't he?
Yeah,
the first 20 minutes
it wasn't quite his best game. And, the one criticism of Fabinho is that sometimes at these away games, he's not always at his best. But then, I'm sure if you go through every single number 9 he plays in these big games, it's exactly the same because they're the ones that the defence are trying to look out for. So that's what happens when you play these okay, say not a great team, but it's still Manchester United, and it's still a huge game for them. And as we've said many a time, they'll be massively up for it. That's what they were. I think, going back to the point, I think it's time to change things in midfield. Okay,
quick word on Adam Lallana. Dan, every now and again it seems like people almost enjoy writing certain players off. And I'm not the world's biggest Adam Lallana fan, but I don't think he's a bad player. And it seemed when he came on yesterday, social media lit up with people, including one quite hilarious example of a guy who guaranteed that his leg would grow back.
I've seen that. Andy Grant, is it?
Andy Grant, yeah.
Fair play to him.
And there was a fair few comments flying around the away end as well.
Yeah.
It was about 70 when he come on.
Yeah, he was the second sub, wasn't he?
Yeah.
For Henderson.
He came on and scored a very, very important goal. And if Liverpool go on to lift things at the end of the season, that could be crucial, couldn't it?
Absolutely. Jurgen Klopp said after the game, and I've seen a couple of his post-match interviews, and he was clearly absolutely delighted. He said, it's a wonderful story how, he kind of really was the forgotten man of Anfield. If he had left the club during the summer, I don't think people would have been all that surprised. There was this talk in pre-season of him possibly being reinvented as a more defensive midfield player, but he has been one of Klopp's key chief lieutenants. You look at that first year to 18 months he was at the club, and he kind of almost had this unofficial title, didn't he? He's like the leader of the press. Now, inevitably, as he's got, how old is he? 30, 31?
31.
So, like a lot of players, they have to kind of reinvent themselves slightly, readapt to the passing of years and the evolution of a career. But he's obviously a very good footballer, and obviously a good man to have around the squad, because Klopp, if we know one thing about Jurgen Klopp, is that he values the togetherness and unity of the group. And if he must know that, Lallana isn't going to play 50 games. So if he's going to keep people around that he's going to be relying on for maybe 10 to 15 games, he's got to be totally convinced and assured that they have the right kind of mentality and attitude to be part of the group, to be a positive, constructive part of the group. And Lallana clearly is that. And it was a great moment, and a really a fantastic moment for him as well personally. I'm sure, who must have looked at the way his career's gone over the last couple of years, and kind of like, from starting in cup finals and playing big matches here and there to, as Doyle said just before, hoping to maybe get a League Cup run out. Yeah. But if he doesn't kick another ball for Liverpool again, he scored a late equaliser at Old Trafford. That time will tell. When at the end of the day, we don't know how important this point will be. But what I do know is that, particularly with this being the first game after an international break, if we'd started this with not just a defeat, but a poor defeat to a poor Manchester United team, I'm not saying we'd have gone to pieces and lost the next 5, but I think it would have been that nagging doubt in the back of people's minds, and also the wider narrative of people who are looking to kind of scrutinise and analyse and arguably trip Liverpool up. But when the big game at Old Trafford, you flaked it. Well, we didn't. Thanks to Adam Lallana and his, professionalism, making sure that he followed the ball in and made that run to the near post and gambled. That's what they always say about front players when they just strike a midfielder. You've got to take those gambles. 8 times out of 10, that kind of run might not pay off, but on this occasion it did, and he had to tap in at the far post. Yep.
Theo, before we move on, just quickly, as I sort of joked at the start, a lot of people thought it was going to be a bit of a walkover for Liverpool at Old Trafford, and I think Doyle and Dan will agree with me. The older I get and the more games you watch there, the more you realise that...
I think I said it was 1-1 on the pod, yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
I wasn't saying you, Doyle, I was saying a lot of people. Even a lot of United fans that I'd spoken to before and thought that Liverpool would win the game quite comfortably. But the more games you watch at Old Trafford, there's a reason why these places are always difficult to go, isn't it? And no matter how poor United are, they will always give Liverpool a difficult game, won't they?
And it's always the team on the back foot that you get a bit more out of. Like we see the same when Liverpool go to Goodison. These games where it doesn't matter what the form's like, you're probably not going to get the result you want there. Yeah. And if you do, you're going to have to work hard for it. Like Liverpool's only win at Goodison, for example, under Klopp's that last-minute winner with Mane. Yeah. They still haven't won at United. Like we keep saying, that 3-0 was it under Rodgers. That was a shock result. No one saw that coming. That was a very poor United team. And you need it. It's all about that start to click well. And if a game it settles in, you're not going to get the result because the fans are up for it, the players are up for it. That's why they're flying into tackles. That's why Rashford's able to have Van Dijk bouncing off him. That's why Fabinho's flattening Dan James. There's always that bit more grit there. And it's the sort of games where you probably can or expect to say, oh yeah, that's going to be a draw. Like we did our pundits thing with MEN, all doing our predictions. Yeah, there was a couple, including me, that said, oh, Liverpool win, but they're going to edge it. Yeah. Or most of us said it's going to be a draw. So whilst fans might think, oh, look at the form guide, Liverpool are going to get an easy win here. If you're watching these teams regularly, you just know it's going to be one of these really tight encounters, and I don't think any of us sat here are surprised that that's exactly what happened.
I mean, the fans who say that it was going to be a walkover are fans who don't know anything about football and don't watch games.
There you go.
So no one watching this and no one listening to this, because our fans are very knowledgeable.
They are
Read our
exactly.
stuff, so they know
Exactly.
what's happening.
They'll have known.
And if you are offended by Ian Doyle Sport, he's at Ian Doyle Sport on Twitter. Just send him a message.
You can email me at joe.rimmer@reachplc.com.
And I'll forward that straight on. Doyle, you are off to Belgium in the morning.
Yeah,
looking forward
it feels like about 3 hours. I'm not looking forward to getting up at about 5 o'clock in the morning, but the cross that we have to bear. Genk.
Ever been to Genk?
No.
Long and storied.
Get out. Get out.
Journalism career.
I've been to Maastricht and I've been to Liège and I've been to Bruges and I've been to Brussels. I've no idea what relevance that is to that, but I think no.
Well, they're all in Belgium.
Yeah.
Well, Maastricht's actually Holland, isn't it?
Maastricht is Holland,
yeah.
correct.
Maastricht and Liège are right near Genk, so it's that side of Belgium. No, I have not been there before. And in fact, in the second night, it won't even be in Genk either because we've got to stay somewhere else because it's such a small town that all the hotels have been booked up. So we're going to be somewhere else on the actual night of the game, other than being at the stadium, of course.
Do you expect Klopp to make some changes for this one?
I expect him to make a lot of changes.
Yeah.
In fact, I've expected 3, 4.
Yeah.
Could even be more. I mean, excuse me. It's Liverpool's easiest away game in the group stage. So if he's going to make any changes for an away game, it'd be this one. But I think Liverpool, they've got Genk again in 2 weeks' time. They've got to win both games. Yeah. If they win both of them, they're in a very strong position. And Genk, though, while you looked at they played Napoli at home in the last home game, last league game, Champions League game, 0-0. You think that's a bit of a surprise result given how Napoli played against Liverpool. But then you watch the highlights. I think Napoli hit the bar, the post, the post, both posts. They had one clear off the line. They missed 2 sitters, and Genk did next to nothing. So if Liverpool have got the shooting boots on, which is something that they haven't really had the last couple of games, you look at, Salzburg, yes, but Sheffield United, no. Leicester needed a penalty. United, a late one, but, it's still a goal. But they haven't quite been hitting the heights. I think if it all goes well, this could actually be a game that could build a little bit of confidence. And that's what they should be looking to, but ultimately it's just about winning.
Okay. Theo, tell everyone at home who we need to look out for in the Genk team.
Hadji Jr. Just because
he's the only one you know.
No, I know a couple of them.
Do you really?
El Hadji Jr.
No, Yanis Hadji, Romania.
Oh yeah.
The Hadji, the proper.
Yeah.
So there's him. They've got a striker up front called Samata, who's like the leading goal scorers. They won the league last year. But those are probably the 2 star men. But then with Genk, it's just what you're expecting. They're actually quite decent at home in Champions League from what I remember. I'm waiting to be corrected here. When
I tried to trip you up on a pod in future, I should remember I asked you to write a profile of Genk, didn't I? So that backfired.
Schoolboy error.
So if I remember, they are decent at home. They've got a few draws where you wouldn't expect them to against decent teams in the past, and they just get battered away from home. So if Liverpool can get a win here, I'll happily take that. And then you're expecting to put 6 past them at Anfield.
All right, there you have it. Just the 6 at Anfield. Should we pick our team for Genk?
Let's pick our team.
Dan, you can start. So
I'm going to go for Alisson Becker in goal.
That's good.
Shocker.
Yeah.
I'll go for Andy Lonergan.
What?
Just because he used to play for Bolton.
By the way, Alisson, were we in any way concerned about his performance at Old Trafford?
A little fumble, didn't he? But I don't know.
No, he didn't really. He just
have anything to do.
He didn't have anything to do. Yeah, I think it was in some ways that was the ideal game for him to come back and play in a game where he did next to nothing. Did he have a save to make?
He did a great knee slide and point to the air when we equalised. I sort of had a great picture of it at lunchtime.
Yeah,
he had a dodgy touch early on, but that was about it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They remember that.
Were we surprised that De Gea was fit? No.
Not really. No.
It's funny how it's all about Solskjaer's mind games. As De Gea's going to be fine. Did we really expect Salah to not be fine until the day of the game?
Well, I had a whisper on Saturday night that he might not be playing. So, but you're right.
There was something on Twitter. I saw something on Twitter, with nothing to back it up.
Because he didn't train, did he, on Saturday? So
but we were told, weren't we, that in the week he was training separate from the team, wasn't he?
But he was winning his fitness, and he was
expected
expected
to be available.
available.
They make it like a special program to make sure he'll be fit.
Yeah.
I do enjoy Solskjaer's impression of Alex Ferguson. He's trying desperately to be Alex Ferguson, but he's 1980s Alex Ferguson rather than 1990s Alex Ferguson.
Hang on, 1980s Alex Ferguson, who won the Scottish Premier League with Aberdeen and the Cup Winners' Cup.
1980s Alex Ferguson.
We don't remember
Man
that.
United.
Okay, it's better.
Because after the game, that whole we don't praise the referees much, but I'll praise the referee.
Didn't he say he was the man of the match? Didn't he say the referee was the man of the match?
Yeah. Thinking he's the big man after the match because he got a point and got them up to 12.
Wow. You need to calm down.
Get back in the box.
I like spiky Joe.
Yeah. Anyway, right. Let's pick our team for Genk.
Are you worried about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer?
No. Not in the slightest.
I was picking my team there, wasn't I?
Yeah.
So
don't pick your whole team. We're picking that's how this works. We pick the defence together.
Allison. Allison.
Trent.
Don't know.
Wasn't great yesterday, Trent. I love him.
No, I'm sticking with him. There's a reason for that a bit later on. Yeah,
I think you're going to pick Gomez in the middle then.
I'm going to pick Lovren in the middle.
You're going to pick Lovren? Won't be against that. I fancy Gomez.
I thought Lovren was excellent against Leicester. Matip didn't have his greatest game yesterday, but he signed his new deal and he's clearly here to stay.
So you can't drop him then.
No, we can't sell him now. We're stuck with him.
You can't sell. You get good money for him now. Yeah, you could get good money for him now. He's got his long deal.
Get less than a 7 from Ian Doyle at Old Trafford and you're gone.
I mean, obviously, next midweek we've got the League Cup tie against Arsenal, so obviously there will be wholesale changes for that. But there's then the return against Genk, the midweek after that, followed by City at home. So I do think, as well as the mass changes for Arsenal, I do think he's going to have to kind of mix the team up for the other 5 games around that. So I wouldn't be averse to seeing Lovren or Gomez getting a game in the centre.
Choose one.
Yes.
Choose both and put one at right back.
Oh, you can do.
Or just don't play Van Dijk.
Oh,
just to make everything easier for me.
I mean, they can't get cocky, they can't get complacent. Liverpool are in a great position to qualify, but we need to absolutely get these 6 points against Genk. No questions asked, no dramas. To go all Connor Dunn on you for a second.
Would you just choose a bloody centre half so we can carry on?
I said bloody then. What about the Asian audience?
I'm the Middle Eastern audience.
He said balls anyway. So.
I also said bloody as well.
Did you? All right, go on.
I'm well behaved.
I've said
Lovren. Okay, so we've got 2 for Lovren.
I was going to go with you and go Gomez.
Oh, that makes things. Just say what? Just say good Lovren, just to make it easier.
Teacher's pet.
Lovren. Right. So we
I
got
hold
Lovren.
sway anyway.
So we all have
Lovren.
VVD.
Yeah.
Yeah, as the other one. VVD.
I think it's going to have to be.
Andy Robertson. Really?
Yeah. Because he can have his rest against Arsenal.
Okay. Right. So that's our back 4 of Trent, Lovren, VVD, and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. I was going to say that. That was a strange one. Andy Robertson. Okay. Midfield.
4-2-3-1 for me.
You going 4-2-3-1?
Yep.
Okay, so who are you 2?
2 is Fabulasinho and Keita.
Go on, I'll have a little bit of 4-2-3-1. You're not playing Keita in the 3, you're playing him in the 2 there.
I'm playing him in the 2.
All right, well, I might disagree with you on that. I will do a bit of 4-2-3-1.
I'm doing 4-3-3.
I'm going to partially disagree. I'm going to go for B. I'll go with 4-2-3-1, but I'm going to go with.
So we are playing 4-2-3-1. Sorry,
yeah.
Theo.
I'm going to go with Fabinho and Henderson as the 2 with Keita in front of them.
Well, I'm going to go with Dan. So I think
I think there's absolutely no chance Henderson's playing.
Yeah,
really.
I think there's no chance he's playing.
I mean,
I think he looked tired. I think he's played a lot of games recently. I think he's slightly out of form, and it would serve him better if he's not playing.
Milner's starting this one.
I mean, one thing we have just you mentioned just before about the last 4 games we've changed to 4-2-3-1 during it. Now, I'm sure I read last night somewhere that in the last 4 games, Henderson's been the first man substituted as well.
I think one of them he didn't even start, did he? Did he start against
Leicester?
Leicester?
He couldn't have been substituted if he didn't start, did he?
No, he didn't start against Leicester.
No.
Do you know what? I'm going to go with Theo here. I'm just going to finish the 2 here because otherwise Dan will be talking for half an hour. So we're going to go Milner. We're going to throw Milner in because I think you're right because he's fresh.
Old Trafford,
he hasn't played.
Okay.
He played well against Leicester in the game before.
Well, the 3. Bear in mind that I've got Keita there. My 3 would be. I've forgotten who plays. Firmino would be in the number 10.
Okay.
And then on the left, I would have Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, and on the right, I would have Origi. Or the other way around, actually. Origi on the left, Oxlade-Chamberlain on the right.
Who's up front?
Mane.
Sadio. Well, I'm going to join you with Firmino in the 10. I'm going to have Naby Keita on the right here. Hi, Naby. There you are. And then Divock on the left.
I think we're just proving that we don't really know what we're talking about here.
No, I don't. Just
no one knows clocked out.
I think
I don't know why I'm writing this down on a piece of paper.
The point that we're proving here is that normally when we do this, we always end up with the same formation, almost all of the same players. And we've now reached a point in the season whereby we're going, right, it's time for a bit of a change now. And so it's one where we don't know. And Jurgen Klopp will have a very good idea, obviously. He's the manager. That's what he does. I think if Shaqiri had been fit, I think this was a game he's absolutely probably nailed on to playing. I don't know whether they'll risk him given the fact that he wasn't even on the bench on Saturday. And we'll learn a lot more tomorrow when
Is he actually even close to a comeback?
Well, this is the thing. We don't know. We're going to learn a lot more tomorrow when Jurgen Klopp, when we find out the travelling party. So yeah, I think this will be a game where he'll change things a bit because, as I said before, Genk are the worst team of the three in the group stage. This is the easiest away game they're going to play. It won't be easy, but it's the easiest of the three that they'll play. And I do think he's probably seen that second half Jurgen Klopp at Old Trafford and gone, right, it's time we change things around here a little bit. I know United were tiring a bit. I know they were then on the back foot. I know they were looking to defend something, but isn't that what we're expecting Genk to do for the most, from what we've just learned from the inside man Theo on their very good home record in which they don't concede many goals and get a lot of 0-0s. So that's what Liverpool are going to come up against, and by doing that they'll still give more space for the fullbacks. And if you're going to play Keita on the right, he's going to be more withdrawn and Trent will just be able to run away.
Good for him. Right, let's just make some predictions and finish this off.
Are we not pointing out that we're definitely not playing Salah then?
Well, we're assuming that he's not.
I don't think he'll play.
So predictions in.
I think Liverpool will win by 3-0.
3-0. I'm going to go 2-0.
1-0.
1-0.
3-0.
3-0. There you have it.
I don't know anything about Genk, so it could be 1-0.
Yeah, there you have it. We don't know anything about Genk. Hope you enjoyed that. Be back on
more insight soon.
We'll be back on Friday when we hope to know a little bit more about Genk. See you then.